While not there now, the third playable version has hit PC test servers.
So this video is all about what changes are there and how to test it out properly. As far as PC test servers goes, it's 100% free, free to download, free to play, free to test. So go out there and test it. Why not, huh? All that's required is a PC and space to actually download it. Sorry, PS3, PS4, and Xbox do not have test servers. All testing is done on PC. So please go out and test this very important game update, if you're able to. Links to all information Stats Matter, Stat Revamp is in the description box below. Check it out. Please visit the links and read for yourself. And test. Once again, this video is all about what changes there are and how to test it out properly. That being said, all information is subject to change at any time on test server. This is the test after all. So anyways, let's begin. Now, first off, what changes are there on test server right now? Once again, all information is subject to change. Feel free at any time to pause this video and read along. Enjoy and test.
Alright, first off, I want to apologize to everybody who's been watching my channel for these updates on Stat Revamp. I'm sorry this video is late. All these changes in this video are as of January 13th, and it's obviously not the 13th anymore. It's past that. It's like a week or so past it now. Anyway, you can check the date on it. But yeah, these are changes as of today, so I'm sorry. The reason I'm late is because of the anniversary event in DCUO, the anti-monitor. I wanted to play it enough to do a review of it. I also wanted to play it enough to do a couple of Veet videos, and, you know, farming on all my characters, so yeah. I farm like a religion, so pretty much, yeah, it's the only thing I do on DCUO right now. I don't do anything else. No content or nothing, just the event. So I decided to take a day off of doing the event and DCO period to get this video out here, so here it is. And once again, I am sorry. Lots of changes to the game. I want to point off right now that there hasn't been any significant changes at all to the first three powers of the update at all. But that's the key phrase. The first three powers is the key phrase. We now have 6 powers on test. 6 powers on test. Alright, but let's get into this. Once again, if you want to read along, the text is up here. That's why it's the type of video. You can read along. You don't have to listen to me say anything. You can just pause it when you need to, fast forward when you need to. Or maybe you're someone who's just too busy to actually sit there and physically watch a video, whether you're on your computer, laptop, tablet, phone, or what have you. You know, too busy to actually sit there and physically watch a video. All you have time for is just to listen to a little bit of audio. That's what this video is also here for. So pretty much everything that the devs post and say to us, I'm going to just read it. Word for word. What's on the screen right now. That you guys can see, word for word, as best as I can. Now, I might change some words here and there to make stuff a little bit more easier to understand, but for the most part, I'm reading it word for word from the dev's mouth. Also, I'll be giving you guys a little bit of feedback on different things from the testers themselves, and also from what they post in the forums, and from what I've actually sent messages and got replies back from testers, things like that. Although I will say that the feedback is a little bit slow this time, not just because of the time and the fact that I was late to test, but also because of the fact that everyone seemed to be in a rush to test more than actually give me feedback. It seemed more in the sense of, oh, sorry, I'm kind of busy right now, I'll get back to you later, or sorry, I'm busy, all my stuff's on the forum, you can just read it there, I don't have time right now, I gotta get back to this testing, I gotta figure something out, blah, blah, blah. It kind of seemed like they were, I don't want to say in a rush, and I don't want to say that they were desperate to find something good or find something bad, but it kind of gave me a sense that they were searching or hoping for something. I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. Also, before you guys start to panic, I'm just going to say this. The test servers right now are closed, but don't panic. They're closed right now to Stat Revamp. But that's only because the St. Patrick's St. Valentine's Day seasonal event is on test servers right now, along with some other things, and they're testing those out. And once they're done testing those out, they'll put the Stat Revamp right back on test servers and open it up for people to test out. So as of right now, if you're watching this video, it's closed. It is closed. Unless I have a new video up there telling you that it's open. But for the most part, it's closed right now. Alright. But Stat Revamp should be back on test servers by, I think, the end of this month and the beginning of the next one. Right, because that's usually the time that they put Valentine's Day on live server, the actual game. Alright. I don't want to take any more of your time. Let's go on. Once again, while there were significant changes from 1.0 to 1.1, from 1.1 to 1.2 for the first three powers, there wasn't that much of a difference. However, a couple of other changes have been mentioned in the 1.2 as compared to the other powers that were announced and that were on test servers. So let's begin. This is Stat Revamp Update 1.2. The public test servers have now been updated with the next three powers ready for testing in the Stat Revamp. Atomic, Gadgets, and Sorcery are now available, and all players will start at level 30. This round of testing is still aimed at gathering feedback on powers from players and in-game content, aka Amazon Fury Part 3 and the raids. We have released these next three powers not because we are finished with the Stat Revamp adjustments and then considering feedback, but because we want more from the perspective of more power sets. On that note, we would like to give you an overall update on how the revamp is going, or how the revamp is processing or progressing. State of the stats. The stats revamp has many parts, and we're going to divide them into two groups so that you know where our thinking is as of now. The first group is for things that we are generally happy with, that are moving along as expected, and that will require some moderate amounts of additional work and feedback. The second group is for things that are still under review, where we expect much more feedback, consideration, and work before they're through. On track. These are things that are on track as of right now, currently, today. On track. Removal of combat rating differential. Done. What that means is, when you're in PvE, when you're in combat fighting opponents, or enemies, NPCs, it's your CR versus your opponents. What that means is whoever has the higher CR will take less damage and more damage from their opponent. What that means is if you're the player and your CR is higher than the NPC or computer that you're fighting, the computer will take more damage from you and the computer will give you less damage. The opposite is also the same. If you're fighting an NPC or a computer and their CR is higher than yours, you will be doing less damage to them and they will do more damage to you. Right, so that is done fine. They removed CR differential. So now your CR means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. There is no difference whatsoever. Think of your CR as level from now on. When it says 191, think of that as level. That's just the level that your character is currently at. It doesn't necessarily mean you're stronger than the next person. Although your stats, depending on that, will make you stronger than the next person. Your CR means nothing. It's all about your stats. Are your stats higher than the person that's next to you? Are your stats higher than the NPC you're about to fight? That's not what's important. Also on track, they adjust where player stats come from and smooth progression. Check. Done. They adjusted NPC stats. Check. Done. Revamped skill trees and skill points. Done. Check. What this means is when you guys go into, this is on live too, currently on live, when you guys go into your weapon trees or iconic trees, but for right now let's just talk about the weapon trees. When you guys go into your weapon trees and any of the weapons, all the weapons really, especially when you go down in the middle section of those weapon attacks, you'll see that some of those attacks have stats on them, such as increased restoration by 5, increased might by 10, increased precision by 10, increased health by 15, increased vitalization by 8 or 10 or something like that. There's always going to be stats on those powers in the middle column. Then as you go down and hit the first row going across, you'll see things that say critical healing chance, critical healing magnitude, critical attack chance, critical attack damage, power healing chance, dominance. You'll see things that say increases health, increases defense. All those are stats. Also, at the very bottom row, you'll see things that say increased precision and might, increases restoration, increases power, increases dominance, increases health. You'll see all those are stats. All of those are being removed from the weapon trees. Every single thing that's a stat, like I just said, all being removed from the weapon trees. From now on, the only thing that will be inside the weapon trees are just the attacks, nothing else. Just attacks and weapon mastery combos. That's it. So only maybe a total of like 15 things in there, if that. Just the attacks, just weapon mastery. And with iconics, when you go to the iconic window, the very two last rows at the bottom going across, those 2 rows, those are all stats too, such as one that says increases health and defense by 200. Or, my bad, increases health by 200, increases toughness and defense by 200, increases power by 100, increases restoration by, increases vitalization by 75, sorry, I messed it up, increases your critical attack chance, increases your critical attack damage, increases your critical healing chance, increases your critical healing magnitude, things like that. All of those are being removed from the weapon trees and from the iconic power trees. They're being removed, but they're being moved to a whole new window. Everything, all the stats in one window. You don't have to jump around anymore. You can just go to one window and all the things are right there, and you can just put your skill points into whatever you want. It's quite frankly one of the best things about this whole update. The whole revamping of the skill points and the power points. That's pretty much the best thing. Also on track, the removal of advanced mechanics and weapon mastery bonus damage. Check. Now what that means is, prior to this update right here, and the very first thing they did was they removed the advanced mechanics and weapon mastery bonus damage. These no longer give back power, and they no longer do the insane amount of damage they used to. They still do damage, and it still does pretty, I'm going to say, pretty big damage, but nowhere in the neighborhood of what we're seeing currently on live. Nothing whatsoever. It's like a whole different world. It's a whole different world. That's how big the gap is. You will not see any of the numbers that you see on live. They've been greatly decreased. So while you still can use them if you want to do damage compared to just hitting random buttons, they're still there, but the bonus damage from both are gone. Also, the power back is gone too as well. But don't worry, because now there is an automatic power regen for when you use your powers. Plus you have controllers. But it does take a little bit of time getting your power back. However, there are cooldowns, so yeah, you gotta take that into consideration. Also on track, removal of power points, done, check. What that means is not a single power in the game has any power points. They're done, zero, neato. Everybody has 0, and you will never get power points ever. But don't panic, that is because as you level up, every certain level, you unlock a power. By the time you hit level 30, you will have unlocked every single power there is for your power. So for instance, let's say you're Quantum. Level 1, you unlock a power. Level 4, you unlock a new power. Level 5, you unlock a power. Level 7, you unlock a power, and so on and so on. At certain levels, you unlock a new power, and by the time you hit level 30, you will have unlocked every single power that your power has. Which means you can also truly put any power you want into your loadout. On track, adjust specific content as needed. This is still in progress, it's ongoing, but it's on track. AKA, they're still finding things here and there that are a little bit of a miss, and they're reviewing it and changing it as needed. Also on track, power set, balance adjustments, post, advanced mechanics, weapon mastery. Ongoing, but on track. Just as above, ongoing, they're finding little things here and there that need to be adjusted and fine-tuned, but as they find it, they review it and make changes as needed. And then there are things that are under review for quite some time. Okay, so under review, Supercharges, power over time changes. The passive controller pot, for example. Weapons and passive power regen. Ability cooldown adjustments, ability power cost adjustments, role specific adjustments related to the changes above. And that is the state of the stats. Now let's go on to the actual power cost changes. Unlike the other updates, the devs really never told us how much power cost certain things would cost us. Some moves seem to have huge power costs, some things seem to have small power costs. Hell, if you're lucky, you find a move that actually doesn't cost any power whatsoever. So, let's go over those. Stat Revamp power costs. Hi all. We have pointed out and we agree that with building new loadouts, it's important to familiarize yourselves with each ability's relative power cost. This is something that most players learn over time intuitively, and something that could be communicated better in game. Noted, we are checking into possibilities there. For now, for the purposes of testing, we want to share which abilities fall into which general power cost bucket, so that you can better plan your loadouts without having to experiment with what changed. This is important to know that when assembling loadouts and will impact what you do based on what playstyle you prefer. For example, if all your abilities are high power costs, you will run out of power very quickly. And that might be fine if you're aiming to swap to weapon attacks frequently or have controllers on point. Or aka 2 or 3 controllers. Yeah, I'm saying 3. Yeah, it's yeah. Or you might instead want to slot in minimum or low cost options if you want to be able to use attack weapons less frequently, or if you want to, play without a controller nearby. Or aka play from the tray. While I'm showing you guys the power cost for everything, I want to give you guys a general description of how I interpret everything. Think of your power bar as a scale of 1,000. Low powers will take 135 out of it when used, minimum will take 270 out of it, minimum to high will take 350, and high will take 450 from them. That's just the general explanation of it. Let's continue. From this point out, I'm just going to read what's on the screen. If you guys want to pause it here and not listen to me, go ahead, that's cool. Although I am going to be drawing in some extra information here and there, not much, but just a little bit. Let's begin. Electricity, these are the high power costs. Biocapacitor, electrocute, electrostatic bomb, voltic bolt, wired. Note, wired is only a weapon attack buff. It will not buff up any power damage. And it is a solo buff. You are the only person that will receive a buff, not your teammates. And that goes for all the buffs for every power. The buffs will now only affect you, and they will only have any effect on your weapon damage. There are no powers that buff up your power damage. The only thing you have is PIs, aka power interactions. Minimum power costs: arc lightning, attract, electroburst, electrogenesis, galvanize, ionic drain, overcharge, repulse, static push, Tesla ball. Low power costs: electrostatic, bioelectric surge, flux, shockwave, spark barrage, and Tesla blast. Ice powers: high power cost: avalanche, frost blast, ice bash, wintry tempest. Note, ice bash is now, and it is only, a weapon attack buff, aka it is precision buff. It will only buff up your weapon attack damage, and it will only buff up the person who casts it. No one else. If that's you, you are the only one who's buffed up. If it's your teammate is the only one that is buffed up. Once again, this does not buff up any power attack damage, only weapon attack damage. And that goes for any power on test servers for Stat Revamp. These buffs are only for weapon attack damage. There will be no buffs at all for any power for power attack damage. The only thing you have is PIs, aka power interactions. Minimum power cost: Bitter Winds, Glacier Floss, Ice Boulder Strike, Impaling Ice, Reflection, Resonating Gale, Snow Devil, and Winter Ward. Low power cost: Arctic Gust, Frost Slam, Frost Snipe, Inescapable Storm, Snowball. Mental powers: High power cost: Ambushes, Pain Blast, Menace, Phantom Flames, Telekinetic Bolt. Note: Menace is only a weapon attack buff, aka precision buff. It will not increase any might or power attack damage, and it only works on the person who casts it. It will not increase the group. Also, if you guys are looking for any powers increases of any kind, look to your PIs. Minimum power costs: Cryokinesis, Horric Visage, Invisibility, Mass Terror, Psychic Empowerment, Psychic Prison, Pyrokinesis, Reflect Pain, Telekinetic Pull, Terrorize. Low power costs: Ambushes Sleep, Grandeur, Mass Levitation, Psychic Shock, Telekinetic Pull, Telekinetic Shield, Telekinesis, and Terror Tendrils. Atomic: High power costs: Gyre Blast, Proton Remedy. Minimum power costs: Density, Fracture, Atom Powered Assault, Electron Flare, Geiger Beam, Ionizing Eruption, Unleash Antimatter, Neutron Bomb. Minimum power combo starter. Note: Atomic Powered Assault only increases weapon attack damage, aka precision. It will not work on any powers to increase their damage. Look to your PIs for that. Also, it only works on the person who casts it. It will not increase the group. Low power costs: Atomic Reorganization, Particle Beam, Antimatter Bomb, Irradiate, Radiation Shower, Neutron Explosion, Low cost combo, Atom Splitter, combo starter. Combo power costs: Atom Fragmentation combo, Nuclear Blast combo, Thermochemical Detonation combo, Beta Flood combos. These are the moves that combo from the combo starters. As you can see, the colors match with each other, so that lets you know which move combos to which move. They match. Gadgets: High power costs: Stealth Surprise Attack, Paralyzing Dart, EMP Pulse. That should really just be called EMP. Why are you saying Pulse twice? Anyway, I guess it just sounds better. It does. I'm sorry. Anyway, Suppressor's Turret, Vortex Cannon. Minimum power costs: Battle Display, Cryo Field, Fear Gas, Gauss Grenades, Neural Neutralizer, Holographic Decoy, Proton Blast. Note: Battle Display only increases your weapon attack damage, aka your precision. It is a precision buff. It only works for your weapon. It will not increase your power attacks whatsoever. There is no move that will increase your power attack damage. This move only increases the person that uses it. Your teammates will not get a buff. Only the person that uses it gets increased. If you want to increase your powers, look to your PIs, aka power interactions. Low power costs: Cuff 'em, Implosion Mine, Stealth, Thermite Bomb, Defibrillator, Taser Pull, Distract, Napalm Grenade, Stasis Field, Sticky Bomb. No power costs: Self, Destruct, Signal. And last but not least, sorcery. High power cost. Invocation of renewal, condemn. Minimum high power cost. Circle of protection, circle of destruction. Minimum power cost. Soul siphon, summon watcher, summon fury, summon guardian, soul well, soul storm, karmic backlash, weapon of destiny, offering, final rumen, karmic suspension, soul barrage, ritualistic word. Low power costs. Rejuvenate, transmutation, boon of souls, vengeance. Note, there is no power in sorcery that currently increases your weapon attack damage, just like the other powers. There's no buff for it. And there doesn't seem to be any power that increases your precision or your weapon attack damage either. They seem to have let that out in the details. Nothing says increases buff damage whatsoever in the details. Then again, maybe there's not supposed to be one, seeing how this is a pet power. Maybe that's how they balance this out. If this isn't changed when it's uploaded to YouTube, that means I never got a reply from the testers or from the devs on that. Alright guys, I don't have too much info to give out on the first three powers, ice, mental, electricity. There hasn't been any significant changes, worth mentioning really, from Revamp 1.1 to 1.2. If you want to see all the old information on those powers, please watch the old videos. There's just so much information I just can't really go over them again. But as far as something I can give you in this video about them, I want to kind of point out electricity, since it is, in my opinion, the most and the top underwhelming power of the revamp. What I mean is, it's kind of the power you kind of want to stay away from, which is sad, because it's one of my favorite powers in the game. But yeah, you kind of want to stay away from it on the test servers. Not the test server, I mean like the revamp. Like, I want to get more people testing it out so they can get more changes, but it's underwhelming. Yeah, it's like, if you want to do healing or if you want to do DPS, the struggle will always be real no matter what you do. You can do open world content, you can do solos, duos, alerts, raids. Whether you're DPSing or healing, the struggle will always be real. It is quite sad, actually. Although I kind of think that the DPS side might be a little bit more manageable than the heal side, and that's saying something. Yeah. Alright, so here on the screen are the base values for the healing. I wanted to put this up here to kind of give you guys a perspective of how far the healing has gone. Some things have been increased, but yeah, it's not really, like, it's not reliable. How can I say it? There's no such thing as a reliable electric killer anymore. Anyway, here are the base values. Electro Burst is, think of these values as such as, like, you just hit level 30. Alright, yeah, put it that way. Of course, it'll increase as you put gear on, you know what I'm saying, but these are the base values. So, you know, take with it what you will. Alright, so Electro Burst is healing for about a range of 24 to 37. And that's been with the changes that happened from the last update. Galvanize is doing 35 to 46. Now, most people know that Galvanize is a move that's fairly weak. However, the key to using Galvanize is to only use that move when you're in the middle of your group, so that it hits everybody, spreads out, and the more people it touches, the bigger it gets and heals. That feature's pretty much gone, and that's really the range right there, so it's kind of like, why even have this move in your loadout? But at the same time, there's no other option, so you're pretty much using it. So it's really like, you want something more than that, but you really don't have any other options. Then there's Biocapacitor. This is the bread and butter of healing right now on it. 86 to 126. And that's the safety nets too. However, the burst heal, the initial burst heal, is doing 68 to 83. So that's really good. Then there's the solo heal, which is going to be Bioelectric Surge, 48 to 59. Those two are the moves that you must have in your loadout if you're going to even attempt to try to heal. If those aren't in your loadout, you're like, they're probably not going to save the day in a raid at all, but if you're going to even try healing, you need those two moves. Then there's Electrogenesis, which has dropped greatly from live. It does 9 to 12, and it's still only a 2-man hot. Like what? A 2-man hot? Like, really? 9 to 12. You might as well not put it in your loadout. Quite frankly, that, like, if they're gonna drop, they are still going to drop. That's not gonna. Yeah. Don't. You might as well just do the single heal for real. Then there's your PI, your electrified PI. Using it will sometimes increase your healing, but as you see, it's only 1 to 3 increases, so why even do it? Like, who has time to put that in their loadout if that's all they're going to get out of it? Then there's Invigorate. Invigorate is, well, pretty good, except for the fact that it's 100% supercharge. Yeah. But then again, what are our options, right? We don't have that many options. Exactly. Then there's Ionic Drain, which I really, I think a lot of people felt this way. I really wanted to see it be viable again for loadouts. Like, I know a lot of people still use it in their loadouts for healing, but as you get into the higher content, it's just not usable. Like, lower content, sure. Like, anything below tier 5, you can definitely put that into your loadout, and it will do greatly. But once you get into the mechanics of tier 5 and definitely tier 6 and up, it uses its effect. I mean, it pretty much becomes useless. It uses its effectiveness. It's not a move you can guarantee to keep your group alive. By the time you're putting that up, they will be pretty much dropping dead. It'll pretty much be like the health bars are just standing still, nothing's happening, because they're taking so much damage, and it's only keeping their health even with what their current health is already at. It really just keeps their health at where they're at right now. And that's on live. This is on test. Look at those numbers. 9 to 12? It's a straight up channeled hot. Healing over time channeled. That means you have to hold it there if you don't get interrupted. It does 9 to 12. It might as well not even have it in your loadout for that. Even if you don't get interrupted, it's still not going to do anything. So don't put it in your loadout. That's pretty much how it is. Then there's Root Transducer. This is the supercharge you want to have in your loadout. I know I kind of said that Invigorate was kind of like, what other options you have? Well, you got this one. This is what you do. This is what you do. Right here. It does a heal of 103 to 120. Now keep in mind that Group Transducer also gives your group a shield. Now, it's gonna suck, but yeah, it's a shield. Especially since the shield's been kind of nerfed on the test. So yeah, it's going to suck. But it's something. So I think that's pretty good. So when you think of it, it's kind of like you're getting heals and a shield. So you're not taking too much more damage, and you're getting heals over that. So it kind of puts you almost back up to full a little bit. But the fact of the matter remains that shields are kind of weak, so they break after a couple hits. Alright, then there's Flush. Not Flush, Flux. It's a pushback. Damage cap of 7,528, which is not that good if you think about it. It has a 6-second duration, and it breaks with 3 taps. Yeah. That's the state of shields now. So, if you want to actually use a shield to pick up anybody, that goes for any power set too, sadly. If you want to try to use a shield to pick up somebody, yeah, it's you pretty much have to be dead on them when you cast a shield, and hope to God you still get them up. That's the state of the powers right now. It's not looking too good. Something I left completely out of it when I was talking about Electrogenesis is the fact that that 9 to 12 that you see on the screen right there, that 9 to 12 heal, which is, yeah, it's slow. Let's face it, it's slow. But those are the ticks, though. So it has like a low of 9, a high of 12. So that's like 12 ticks of 9 or 12 ticks of 12. So, you know, take with it what you will, but it's over time heals when you can just use other moves to put yourself back up. It kind of still sucks, but I didn't want to make it sound as sucky as what I said earlier. It still kind of sucks because it's nothing like live, but you do get a little bit of healings from it. But it's over time, and it's 12 ticks. So you might be able to find other options that might be more viable, but it's there if you want to use it. And there's also one move that I left out of here, which is Arc Lightning. It is doing 68 out of 83. And that's for the base heals. However, keep in mind that Arc Lightning now does not hit all enemies, and it does not heal all enemies. Well, actually, I can't say it doesn't hit all enemies in DPS mode. But I can say as far as the heals, it does not heal that many allies, and it doesn't hit everything either. So you're going to have to keep using this move over and over if you're trying to put your whole team up. So yeah, I guess it gives you a little bit more variety. Choose what you want, but it's underwhelming compared to the other heal power, which is now the king power, I guess you could say, in the game. It is doing pretty much almost like live. But let's move on. Stats Revamp Atomic. What can I say about this update except for the most part, I kind of actually like it. As you guys know, when powers get added to Stats Revamp, they get nerfed heavily. Pretty much down to their base elements, and then they change a few things here and there, and then they put it on test server to see if it fits out. That's how all powers are. So don't expect things to come to test server and still perform anywhere in the neighborhood of live. Like, I'm seriously, don't expect any power to perform anywhere in the neighborhood of what it does on live. So with that being said, there's been a couple changes here. Some changes I like, some changes I did not like at all. But overall, I'm liking what I see on Atomic. Alright, so let's begin. Quark Kugan Aura. Or I might just call it Aura. Now refreshes after one full Atomic combo in DPS roll, just like it does in tank roll. Activation no longer deals damage, and no longer triggers a group breakout. Removes the crit and might buff. And take roll healing is now 1% of max health. Atomic combos. Now deals more damage while the aura is active. Think of it as a power interaction. You know, PI. No longer vulnerable to counters. Cannot counterattack, and causes a small amount of power to use. So yeah, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You can't get interrupted, but you also can't interrupt. So it's, yeah, double-edged sword. Tank roll healing is now 15% of max dominance. Unleash antimatter. Now a supercharged generating mid-range AoE that sets up the day's power interaction. Atom-powered assault. Now a precision buff only. It only increases the damage of your weapon attack. Damage. Will no longer increase your power attack damage or give you a might buff. There are no might buffs in the game. This is only useful to the person that casts it, so it won't increase anything on anybody else. Alright, let's go on. And antimatter bomb, which used to be known as subatomic substitution. It is now the new low-cost ranged AoE that deals more damage to dazed enemies. And that's all the changes. So what are my thoughts on this? Well, some people keep wondering why there are PIs and different powers that have nothing to do with those powers. For instance, there's dazed and atomic. Why is that there? It's there so that it can work with other powers, so that other powers can benefit from it. Pretty much the same way that water is going to be working with electricity and electricity is going to be working with water. Or the way that munitions and quantum work together. Or the way that fire and munitions works together. Yeah, think of it that way. Alright, so what are the changes to Atomic that I liked and didn't like, and let me give you a little bit more perspective. The healing has been greatly nerfed. Okay, for when you have the aura on, the tank roll healing is now 1% of your max health. Used to be 2%, I believe, so it's not much of a deal, but they could have left the 2% as far as I'm concerned. And then there's the tank roll healing for when you do your combos. Now only 15% of your max dominance. It used to be 48, if I believe right. It used to be 40, then was 48% of your max dominance. Now it's only 15%. That greatly has hurt the tanking side of Atomic. So let me just put this out there. When it comes to the tank powers period, your survivability is greatly reduced and lowered. It's lowered to the fact that you can pretty much no longer solo successfully. Like, as far as like easy, you're gonna struggle with anything. But as far as trying to solo successfully, nah, no more, no more. For now on, for Rage, you might as well picture a 2-tank system. 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 trolls, 2 DPS. Yeah, that's how Rage are going to go now. That's if you don't want a lot of deaths. If you want to try to solo, be my guest. But right now, there is no such thing as a non-squishy tank in this game. There's just no such thing. Everything is squishy as hell. And it's obvious to see why they're doing it kind of like this. They want to kind of reinforce or put into everybody's mind spec the sense of needing 2 of each role. 2 tanks, 2 trolls, 2 healers, 2 DPSs. Or more for raids. And yeah, I get that. So if you guys want to try to solo heal, be my guest. But a lot of people are going to die. You want to try to solo tank, go ahead. But a lot of people are going to die. Especially yourself. If you want to try to solo troll, go ahead, but a lot of people are going to be out of power. Hell, even if you have 2 trolls, you're going to be out of power a lot. Even if you have the 3 trolls, you might be out of power a lot. The sense of this is this. When it comes to trolls, it doesn't matter how much Vite you have or how much power you have. If you can't use a move because the cooldown's not over, then you simply just can't cast a move. So you'll see trolls with full bars of health not able to give power to the group because of cooldowns. So it truly doesn't matter how high your stuff is. Put yourself up as high as possible just so that when you actually do get to use your pot or your instant heal, it'll be really big, but you won't be able to spam it. Nothing like live. Alright, there is something I can say about Atomic. This power is able to hold its power better than the other power sets. That's just how it is. Except for maybe DPS sorcery. Maybe. It really can hold its power set pretty good. And given the right loadout, you actually have the chance to kind of play from the tray. Kind of. You gotta spec a lot into it, and it should be more feasible and viable for you to just play from the tray with Atomic than any other power, really. Except for maybe Sorcery DPS. Maybe. But what I'm seeing people talk about in the forums a lot, and I just wanted to put this out here, because if a lot of people are talking about it in the forums, there's probably someone watching this video asking about it. Alright, so a lot of people are saying, and I'm going to just quote exactly what I read on the forums. Statement was said, not being able to stop someone from getting the aura during a counter will lead to abuse. I don't see how with this update that's possible. Okay, like the thing says, the aura does not increase Proton Remedy's heals at all. Nor does it offer any percentage heals when done in DPS stance. Okay, so on live right now, it offers heals for tank, and only grants crit buff and might buff for DPS. But those were removed, so it doesn't do that on test at all now. It actually has 0 use as a DPS besides making Proton Remedy give its heals in 6 seconds instead of 12. Which doesn't change anything from a PvP perspective. So, yeah. I just want to put that out there. So, yeah. Especially since this update is all about PvE. There are no changes being made for PvP. They're going to get to that later. One thing at a time. They'll touch that later. Which is why it's going to take a while for all these updates to finally make it to live. It's going to be about a year, I think. Alright. I've got one last thing to say about Atomic. Okay, as you guys see up there in the notes, it says Atomic Combos. No longer vulnerable to counters. Atomic combos do not counter attack, and atomic combos cost a small amount of power to use. I've talked to a few people testing the game, and I've also talked to people on the forums, and I also read the forums. And it all confirms what I'm about to say now. More people spend more time laying on the ground than actually standing up when they try to tank because the combos seem to be vulnerable to counters. I know, so that's a bug they have to fix. No, they said it's no longer vulnerable to counters, but a lot of people seem to be laying on their ass more than actually standing up. So that's definitely something that needs to be fixed. Now, maybe it's just bad timing on certain things, but yeah. Stats Revamp gadgets. Um, I don't know. I like both mental and gadgets. I think I'm gonna lean a little bit towards gadgets just a little bit, but it's looking pretty good actually. I like it. Now there are some changes that I didn't like, but of course that's what every power. There's gonna be some things you don't like, but well, let's move on. All right, so drone gadgets. Low duration cooldown and low crowd controlling effect abilities that can be used repeatedly. Sticky Bomb inflicts daze. Napalm Grenade inflicts burning. Gauss Grenade inflicts electricity, or electrified. Thermite Mine leverages burning, aka if something's burning, it will increase the damage on it. And Impulse Mine leverages electrified. Control gadgets. Moderate duration cooldowns and high crowd control effect abilities that can be used readily. Defibrillator. Group power heal. Stasis field inflicts crushing, fear gas. Removed panic and now inflicts terror. Leverages burning and terror. Taser pull inflicts electrified. Cryofield, now a field instead of an aura, inflicts frostbite, leverages frostbite. Heavy gadgets, moderate duration cooldowns, and moderate crowd controlling abilities, or effect abilities, that should be used tactically. Paralyzing dart, leverages daze. Suppressor turret, inflicts burning and electrified. Voltex cannon, leverages daze. EMP pulse, I don't like saying pulse twice. Leverages electrified. Utility gadgets. High duration cooldown abilities that should be used strategically. Holographic decoy. Supercharged generator inflicts terror. Stealth cuffums, or stealths cuffum, inflicts terror. Stealths surprise attack, leverages terror. Think Batman style. Battle display. It is now your weapon buff in place of intimidation. It increases the damage of your weapon attack damage. It will not increase your might. It will not be a might buff, and it will not increase the damage of your power attack or any power attack damage, and it only works on the person that casts it. Neural neutralizer leverages daze. And those are the changes to gadgets. So, what are my thoughts off the back of some of these moves? My thoughts are pretty much the same as people that were exactly on the test forum talking about it. There's a lot of people that are talking about gadgets. Alright, so what I've been seeing with gadgets, and I kind of want to apologize again for not finding too much with Atomic, it's just that there wasn't that much to talk about with Atomic because a lot of things were being changed, so I didn't feel a sense of needing to actually mention it. But I'll mention some things here. Some things that are still going to be changed, so I don't really see a point in mentioning it, but I'll mention it anyway. And I'm going to mention some things that I'm not sure about, and I'm not sure why they're there. Alright, so a lot of things, just like with Mental, there is a pull that also does your debuff. Which I guess I'm not too mad about, as long as there's a different option to do said debuff and a different power. If that's my only debuff, then it's kind of like, I guess I won't be doing that ability anymore. If I'm not ready to take ads, then I'm not going to take ads, you know? If you're actually looking to pull something, it's cool, because you pull it and it debuffs it. It's like an actual bonus. It's like, it's an okay bonus. You don't really care if it's there or not there. But if you're looking to debuff, and now you have an ad in front of you, that's kind of like, okay, I wasn't ready for this. You know? Anyway, a question was asked, is Paralyzing Dart supposed to be a single target attack now? And the answer is yes. So on live, and you hit somebody with paralyzing dart, you hit the target, stun the target, and you also stun the ads around the target, and also hit the ads around the target. With this move, it is now a single target attack. It's also the hardest hitting ability below Stealth's surprise attack. So if you're looking for like multiple target attacks, recommend Voltex Cannon, as it targets tend to, well, how do I say it? It's a multi-target attack that leverages daze. And with most attacks in the games, the more targets you hit also means the less damage per target. Alright, so another question that was asked is, what should I use for my range group heavy hitters now, since you don't have that move anymore? Well, Fear Gas is hitting pretty good. Fear Gas is a move that loosely in a cone shape, but now it's hitting and stunning up to 8 people. 8 people, so that is a real good move to use for your stuns. Also, the devs recommend, well, I can't really say recommend, but to add on to that, the devs recommend that you do use Vortex Cannon and EMP, since they are your heaviest hitting range group attacks, and they are both mid-range. Fear Gas and Gross Grenade have a longer range and a lower cooldown, but don't hit as hard. However, like I said, Fear Gas stuns 8 ads. Pretty nice. Now, one of the problems I've seen on the forums is, although it is pretty much a cool problem to have, people are calling it OP. I can't really say it's OP, and I'll explain why. But it's something that is being fixed, so this won't be the case anymore. But a sense of what it does, it's cool to have that problem. But it does create other problems for other things in game, which are not good. So let me break that down. Okay, as everybody knows, decoy, which is also called holographic decoy, that is a move in the game that places a decoy on the ground. Anything that was attacking you sees a decoy, and now you're pretty much I won't say invisible, but they don't notice you anymore. So you're now free to move about the country if you want to, while your decoy gets attacked. It has infinite health. It can't get damaged. It wears off. That's when it finally goes away. Okay, at the same time, on live right now, there are cooldown reducer mods, and one of them is for decoy. Okay, now let that soak in. Let that soak in. Let that soak in. On test right now, decoy lasts the full duration of its cooldown, aka when it wears off, you can put it right back up instantly. So that kind of makes the reduction mod useless. You can't reduce something that's already reduced. I mean, so what? You're gonna make it castable when you can't cast it now? I mean, hey, it's off cooldown before you can use it again now. I mean, what the heck would that be? Although, if you were able to cast 2 of them, I guess that would be okay, but I don't think you can. Plus, the mods are not on test servers for anyone to actually try out, so you're not gonna know. And like I said, this is being fixed, so we won't know now. And that's the only actual bad problem. There's people on live now that are buying all these reduction mods and other types of the time capsule mods, and some of the moves are being changed, and some of the moves are being removed from power sets. Which is why I want to point out to you guys that when you're buying these mods from the broker, try to be a little bit more reasonable with your pricing. It doesn't make sense to pay $1 million or higher than that for a mod that you're not even going to be able to use. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, there's the accelerated code snap mod. It's the cooldown reduction mod for ice. Code snap is no longer an ice power. It's removed from ice. So there's no point in having the mod. But a lot of people paid a lot of money for that, right? So it's like, be a little bit more mindful on what you spend your money on. That's all I'm saying. Now, some people do it the free way, as since they just run the duo that gives them the stabilizers, and then they open up their time capsules that way. But there are people who actually go to the marketplace and spend their money buying tons of stabilizers just so they can get certain mods. And then they put them in a broker, then somebody spends their in-game cash trying to buy them, and that's where the problem comes in. When people earn it regularly, it's not that much of a problem. It's just, okay, you just can't use it anymore. But when it comes to people spending a whole bunch of real money getting stabilizers just to get that head mod, and you can't use it anymore, or someone spends a lot of their in-game cash to get that mod and now you can't use it anymore, yet again, it becomes an issue. But that's the bad issue. Let me tell you the good issue, which is also being removed. Okay, so as you guys know, Decoy is a move that when you cast it, a hologram comes out and takes the attention off of you and throws it onto the hologram. So now that it takes damage instead of you, kind of like the enemies now have its full attention and not you. Now this thing takes infinite damage, so it doesn't have a health bar, it doesn't have a life bar. It just takes a lot of hits and it can't die because it's a hologram. But it's also takes, like I said, infinite damage. But it lasts for this full duration of the cooldown. What that means is, if it lasts for 12 seconds, it's up for 12 seconds. You can constantly keep putting it up, so it can potentially never leave the field. So it's kinda, and I just mean kinda, it's kinda like having a free tank for content all of the time. You can just keep it up and keep bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. You know, especially for those times where your tanks drops down, because like I said, tanks push you. There's something you can do about that. Tanks push you. But you can have a tank that you can always bring in, pretty much. Now I say kind of, because it can't actually tank. It taunts. It can't pull things to it, so it taunts, and that's it. It just taunts. Now, its taunts cannot override a tank's taunts, so if there's a tank in a group, it's going to have the aggro, not the, decoy. Now, if your tank drops, then you can pop the decoy, and now the decoy will hopefully have some type of aggro. However, it all depends on where you place it. It has a small range. It doesn't taunt everything on the field. It all depends on where you place it. If you place it in the wrong location, it's not going to taunt anybody. But like I said, it's kind of acts as a taunt. Now, another thing that's been happening is the pressure turret. It drops like a fly. And some people are saying that it reduces their power regeneration. Also, some people are saying that it's really good for clipping now. I don't know how true that is. Anyway, the cooldown was reduced, so I guess that's good. However, like I said, it drops like a sack of potatoes. The devs, however, are changing that. They're looking into that. Also, along with the changes, like I said, Decoy is going to change for sure. Somewhere, for sure, in the next patch. So it's not, I didn't really want to mention it, but I only mentioned it because it was cool. But Suppressor Turret is going to get some type of mechanical adjustment as well. The devs said that in testing, it died pretty quickly, so they're going to change that. The next question was asked on the forums. I'm going to take it right from there because the devs directly responded to them. And please don't jump in arms about this. It's not really what you think. A lot of people get... Well, I'm just going to read what it says first. Okay, so a question was asked, what do you mean by a mechanical adjustment to Suppressor Turret? Do you mean it's going to be more like Earth and Sorcery's pets, as it'll now be doing some meaningful damage and not just be like Robot Sidekick? And a lot of people will jump into arms because there's a lot of people who are for pet powers, and there are a lot of people who absolutely hate pet powers. Please calm down. Don't have a cow. Just calm down. Alright, this is exactly what the dev said. I'll read it word for word. Leaning towards an immortal pet for a fixed duration, as opposed to an mortal pet for an infinite duration. During an early raid playtest, I spawned Suppressor Turret from Rage, and it seemed happy lobbing grenades. Then it suddenly hurled into the fray to try to perform a flame. From that exchange, I don't think it's going to be anything like pet powers at all, so calm down. Although I actually wouldn't care if it was. I think it'd be pretty good. I wouldn't care, but I think they would also decrease some of the damage for other moves if they did. Kind of like what happened to Sorcery a little bit. Alright, so let's go on. Okay, so you guys know there are a couple of mine powers in the game, such as Thermite Mine and Implosion Mine, which are restricted to the stealth form. Now, when the game first came out, these forms weren't in stealth form. You could use them in stealth form, but you could also use them in the other form too. Now, these forms are restricted straightly to the stealth form menu. So it was asked, are these moves still going to be restricted to stealth form? I can only use them in my stealth loadout. Is there going to be any way for putting this on the outside of it? And Debs replied, at the moment, yes, they're restricted to stealth form, but we have discussed making it available outside of stealth. Alright, I want to backtrack a little bit. Okay, back to the question that was about, does Gadget have a range 6-second group AoE stun and control roll? And it was also noted that Fear Gas could be your ranged AoE 6-second stun and control roll, which is kind of funny since the devs themselves said, no, Gadget is much more of a skirmishing superpower than Mental is. Which is kind of funny because Fear Gas is your 8-second stun that stuns 8 ads. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they said no. I don't know what to think of that. But yeah, whatever. The animations for EMP Pulse and Cryofield have been changed. Some people seem to like it, while a little bit more that people seem to not like it. I have not seen the animations myself. I'm sure somebody will post something on the forums for people to look at. I haven't really looked that far into it. I was too busy looking for other information, talking to people, and also trying to get back and do the event. So I haven't seen those, though. But who knows, maybe the devs will change it back to the old animations. Also, on that note, I want to say that overall, as far as the control effects are concerned, they did a pretty good job, I think, on the control effects. They're nerfed considerably compared to live, but they're, an improvement compared to, well, I guess, mental a little bit. Just a little bit. For the most part, how can I say it? I may or, I want to say that. Yeah, I guess I do want to say that, yeah. A majority of the control effects for gadgets will stun 8 targets, excluding the single target powers. The litho times vary, of course, but if you're looking for far range stuns, Fear Gas is, well, your go-to. It stuns 8 targets for 8 seconds. You can't beat that, really. Alright, this was something I noticed a lot of people on the test forums talking about, and it has been confirmed by other people on the test forum, so it's most likely the case. Alright, so what happens right now is that for both mental and gadgets, the group power heals, which are psychic empowerment and defibrillator, they are not returning power to the caster. So yourself, if you were to cast this move to give power to the group, you wouldn't get nothing from it. Which is odd because this power has been giving power back to the caster since Stat Revamp 1.0. So somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2, it stopped giving power back to the caster. Now this may be intended, or this may be a bug. We won't know until we get feedback from the devs, or until the next time this hits Stat Revamp on the test servers. Not really worth mentioning because they're going to change this, so I'm just going to go over it briefly. EMP is supposed to be vulnerable to interruption. It is not. People are getting it off all day long. That's going to change, so there's really no point mentioning that. But I will mention this. Fear Gas. Everybody knows Fear Gas. Everybody probably uses Fear Gas in their DPSing. Fear Gas is a move that you can jump cancel, still get the damage out, and you can end the animation, go on to the next thing. Fear Gas is no longer jump cancel. You can no longer jump cancel it. Don't get me wrong, you can jump cancel it if you wish to. You can even use the new jump cancel if you wish to. However, doing so will make you drop damage. You see, there's a huge tick at the end of Fear Gas, which you do not get if you stop the animation. You have to let it go through. So yeah, that's one of the things that's on gadgets right now. There's not that many people on the test servers that really post any detailed information about their feedback. It's usually just like 1 or 2 sentences. This guy is one of the few who actually give really detailed information, and when you read it, it's like you're there, you understand it. So shout out to you. I'm putting this here. This right here is the comparison between the two different types of shieldings you can get. There's Distract, and then there's Neural Neutralizer, or Neural Neutralizer. Neural Neutralizer is protecting you a lot better than Distract, as you can see. I'm not going to read that because I want to shorten this video down some, but it's right up there. You guys can see it. I'll read a little bit of it. Okay, so for a DPS role, Neural Neutralizer is pretty much blocking about 2,115 damage, and that's the cap right there for that, while Distract has a 1,084 damage cap. However, in Troll role, Distract has a 2,468 damage cap, and Neural Neutralizer has a 4,794 damage cap. That's quite a big difference if you think about it. On that note too, just like said there, that damage cap can be reached in just a few hits at best, so you're not really getting any type of protection. So whether you're in Troll or whether you're in DPS, if you're using your shield, and most people do use their shield not just to protect allies where they're getting healed, aka healers, some people use their shields to pick up people. You're pretty much going to have to be dead up on whoever you need to pick up, and hope to God you don't get broke out even then. Because, yeah, it only takes a couple of hits to get interrupted. But here are my thoughts on that. Gadgets has a move known as Holographic Decoy, which can take away attention from you. So combining that with Distract or with Neural Neutralizer, which I would go with that one if I were you. What you do is, first you drop the decoy, then you put your shield up, just so that you have, max shielding that way. Hopefully that is enough for you to pick up one person, maybe two, who knows. But that should be the go-to for picking up people, which means that Gadgets now has a higher success rate, I believe, in doing pickups than other powers. There are many testers on the forum that give such detailed information that when you look at it and read it, you can comprehend it on such a level that it's kind of like you're there, testing it out yourself. You can just see it. And sometimes it's just simple wording, or sometimes it's just full out, hey, this is a stat. But they do it in such detail that it's like you're there. One of those testers is the Dark, and he mentioned on there that when it came to Battle Drone, it gave 12 ticks of power, and it was a 25% supercharge. However, there was no big burst power heal at the end, and just as he worded it, aside from being a drone serving as an offensive power supercharge pet, there's no additional benefit. What he also noticed was that, unlike with Mental, when he was getting pot, and I don't know whether he was receiving pot from another controller or if he was the one that was giving pot, and when he saw himself get the tick, it was different. But this is what happened. As far as receiving pot goes with Gadgets, it's inconsistent with Mental. With Mental, it's every 2 seconds you get a pot. With Gadgets, it's either every 2 seconds or every 4 seconds. It's random too. It's inconsistent. For instance, like I said, I don't know whether he was the one initially giving out the pot, aka he had the higher vite, or whether he was just receiving it. But when he was receiving it, either way, it came out like this. 2 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. 4 seconds, then pot. 4 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. 4 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. 4 seconds, then pot. 4 seconds, then pot. 2 seconds, then pot. It was really inconsistent, just like that. Now, I have 100% faith that that's going to be corrected, because that's not how it's supposed to be. But currently on test, that's how it is. As I said, there are many testers on the forum that give detailed information. Once again, here's one of his posts up here. This is the detailed information of all the power costs for powers for Gadgets, and also their cooldown durations. So there's so much I'm not going to read this here as to make my video go a little bit faster. But you can pause this if you like, Each screen will stay on the screen for about 3 seconds, maybe 4 or 5. But after that, it'll go to the next screen, and if you want, you can just wait until the audio comes back in. Alright, this screen here is all about the power interactions. And also whether or not certain moves are group PIs or certain moves are single target PIs. Now, there are also some that are the appliers, and there are some that are the consumers. And then there are others that are the executions. You know, like those moves that are like the 35%ers? Yeah. Single target executions? Yeah, that. Once again, 5 seconds here. Pause if you need to. This post is about gadgets, control effects, and info on powers. It's such detail. Everything is here except for the power cost. But we covered that earlier. This is from the poster The Dark. It's such detailed. Alright. Sticky Bomb. Damage debuff. Dazes enemies. Stuns for 500 milliseconds. Half a second. Stuns 8 targets. Delivers knockdown. Delivers 1 tick of damage. Far range. Can even hit a target when you just enter gray crosshairs. You know that time right before it turns to a red crosshair, that gray crosshair? Yeah, that's what it's talking about. 1 second animation and cooldown. Paralyzing Dart. Heal debuff. Additional damage on dazed targets. Vulnerable to interrupt. Stuns for 6 seconds. Stuns 1 target. Far range 25 meters. Brings out of stealth, or takes you out of stealth. 1 second animation, 3 second cooldown. Neuro Neutralizer. Dazes enemies, usable while controlled. Stuns for 6 seconds, stuns 8 targets. Melee range 8 meters or less. Shield lasts 6 seconds and has defense cap of 4,862 when you have a dominance of 5,692 and a restoration of 7,955. Animation is 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. Just cast any power to cancel the last 0.2 seconds of animation. 18-second cooldown. Voltex Cannon. Additional damage on electrified power. Stuns for 6 seconds, stuns 8 targets. Delivers a knockdown, then stun. Mid-range 13 to 12 meters. Animation is 1.2 to 1.5 seconds. Once again, cast any power to cancel the last 2 seconds of animation. 3-second cooldown. Stasis Field. Damage debuff. Encases 2 targets. Encasements last 6 seconds. Max far range possible 30 meters. 1 second animation, 3-second cooldown. Suppressor Turret. Passive power regen is reduced while it's out. Inflicts burning and electrifies. Control effects in control roll. Applies stun, grenade, and stasis field, which does encase. Damage abilities. Flamethrower, stasis field, primary attack, stun grenade, and grenade does heavy damage. Self-destruct deals 4,922 damage. Jump castle and turret is cooldown is 2 to 3 seconds. Cuff 'em. Inflicts terror. 12-second stun. Surprise attack. Additional damage on terrified enemies. Deals a knockdown effect. Renders you visible from stealth form. You can hit enemies 7 to 8 meters away. 18-second cooldown after the clock begins. Otherwise, it's it's 19 seconds from cast time. EMP, the true name. Additional damage on electrified enemies. Stuns for about half a second. Stuns 8 targets. Mid-range 13 to 12 meters. 1 to 1.2 second animation, 3 second cooldown. Proton Blast. Additional damage is dealt on electrified or burning enemies. Vulnerable to interrupt. No control effects. I guess that's okay. Single target. 1 to 1.5 second channeling animation. 4 second cooldown after channeling ends. Thermite Mine. No additional damage on burning targets. No control effects. Explodes after enemy contact. Explodes after the 3-minute expiration and explodes after self-destruct is cast. Implosion Mine. Additional damage on electrified targets. No control effects. Cryofield. Inflicts frostbite. Additional damage is dealt on frostbitten enemies. Frostbitten enemies become encased at the end of the primary control effect. Stuns for 6 seconds. Stuns 8 targets. Targets entering 360-degree area of effect are also stun. 1 second animation like Distract. 6-second cooldown is range is limited to where the player is now placed. Now places Cryofield. It no longer is a mobile dot aura. AKA what you see is its range. Stealth. Places you in another form that removes power over time. Grants access to Cuff'em, Surprise Attack, Thermite, and Implosion Mine from Stealth Tray. Few powers still remain inaccessible in stealth form. Renders you visible and stealth to NPCs that are in combat and that are not in combat. Think of a clock. If you stand in front of an NPC between 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2 o'clock, the NPCs will see you and attack. If you stand to the side or behind at 2, 3, 4, and all the way to 8, 9, 10 o'clock, the NPCs will not detect you. This allows you to get closer and use special stealth powers. 18-second cooldown. Fear Gas. Inflicts terror. Burning and terrified enemies take additional damage. Stuns for 8 seconds. Stuns 8 targets. Far range. 0.5 to 0.7 cooldown after channeling is cancelled or finished. 2 seconds of canceling. Can still be jump cancelled. Max damage if you do not cancel. Distract. Usable while controlled. Shield lasts for 6 seconds. 6 seconds immunity to enemy control effects. Damage capped on shield is 2,504 when you have 5,692 dominance and 7,955 restoration. 1 second animation, 18-second cooldown. Battle Drone. 50% supercharge, no burst power heals on the final tick. Delivers 12 ticks of power scaling with your vitalization. With 14,075 Vite, power ticks range from 202 to 216 power per tick. Napalm Grenade. Heal, debuff. Inflicts burning. Stuns for 500 milliseconds. Once again, half a second. Stuns 8 targets. Far max far range at gray crosshairs. 1 second cooldown in animation. Gauss Grenade. Defense debuff. Electrifies enemies. Stuns for half a second. Stuns 8 targets. Far range. 1 second animation and cooldown. Taser Pull. Electrifies enemies. Damage debuff. That's a bad choice. Yeah, I understand. Pulls then stuns target. Stuns for 6 seconds. Single target damage and pull stun. Far range. Can still jump cancel and pull for double distance. 1 second animation, 3 second cooldown. For reading all of this, my thoughts are it's pretty buggy, but it still has a lot of potential, and I think right now it has a slight edge over mental. A couple of moves in stealth form are OP. A couple moves are very OP. They're doing like every time you use them, they're hitting for sometimes within 25k to 50k in damage when you use them in stealth form. So I think it's pretty strong when you use those moves. I think it's called Expansion Gas, and the other one I think is Surprise Attack. Finally, we are at the end. Of all the powers on test, I would probably say this is one that feels, if anything, with somewhere and some sense of level, somewhat comparable to live. That goes for both the DPS and for the healing. As far as the heals, this is the power to be. As far as DPS, this is probably also still the power to be. Alright, let's go. Stat Revamp Sorcery. Red Soul Aura and Golden Soul Aura have been removed. These were general effects that the players just passively received for normal play, rather than promoting interesting choices and build variations. Bad Karma no longer has the additional heal damage proc effect. These were inconsistent and generally small bonuses that were largely ignored in normal gameplay. The damage and healing from these effects have been shifted into the, shifted throughout the powers that originally apply them. I think that makes a little more sense. Permanent pets now slightly reduce passive power regen while in combat. Offering now feeds all pets. The power return from Watcher has been moved here from Ritual Word. Ritual Word is now a full strength small group heal due to the above change. Shard of Life has been replaced with Karmic Suppression, an AoE levitation and supercharge generator ability. My overall first impression of this is, well, before I can say that, I gotta say that pretty much at the beginning of this month, when they first released the anniversary gift, bring any character up to CR 100, 2 characters if you're a member for free. So that's when I finally decided to make a sorcery character. That's the only power I've never been in the game so far. Been playing since beta, the only power I never touched. But I would always tell people how to spec and give them loadouts for the power, so now I finally was like, okay, let me try it out. So I made a character. I'm loving the healing side so far. I haven't tried DPSing too much. I already have my loadout ready though, but I haven't done too much DPSing only because I want to heal with the power. I don't really care too much about DPSing, so even though I have a loadout, I don't see myself wanting to really get an armory to DPS. Although eventually I'm probably going to have to, just so I can get through some solos easier and faster. Because Furia still kill stuff fast though, but I find that when you're actually spec'd, you can get your stuff a lot faster. So with that being said, there are some things that I like and don't like about this at first impressions. First off is Red Soul Aura and Golden Soul Aura being removed. You know what? The abilities can leave. Hey, the abilities can leave. The abilities can leave. I don't care too much. What I care about is the visual effects of them. I like having the red swirls around me. I like having the golden thing around me. The visual, I want that to stay. You need to bring those back. Those would make sorcery, at least for me. The visual effects, those need to stay. A lot of people, even on the forums, have been saying, please keep the effects at least, and I'm with them. Keep the effects. Something else I didn't like, offering. With offering being part of every pet's feed, it kind of forces you to have less moves in your loadout. Okay, put it this way. Ritualistic Word used to feed the Watcher, and then you could put an additional move into your rotation. Now, you must have this Word just do your group heal, and now you need to also power up your pet. So now you have to remove another power in your line to put your pet power if you're going to have your Watcher out in the first place. So you now need an additional spot, tuck-in. Which I guess makes sense with the whole Shard of Life being gone. But at the same time, Oh, another thing, Shard of Life, yeah. I like that when I heal, so I'm kind of like, why is that gone? What the hell? But I understand, because of cooldowns anyway, you would never be able to spam it, so whatever. You can't spam anything, really, in this game. Either the cooldowns are going to stop you, or the power cost is going to stop you. However, those are just my initial things that I didn't like. However, what I'm hearing on tests is that the healing side of sorcery is the way to go. If you're going to heal, you need to be sorcery. It can do things. It can do things, that's all I'm saying. Can it solo heal? You can try it. You're probably going to die a lot, though. However, you're going to die a lot more electricity if you try to solo heal with that. You need 2 healers regardless of what power you're going to be. And even then, you're probably still going to drop some, but not as much. The more the merrier, trust me. That goes for any role. You want a tank, you want heals, you want power, you want damage. The more the merrier. There are many people, as I've always said, on tests that give a lot of information, and Celestial Powers is one of them. This is her post right here. Ability changes. Rejuvenate. Much lower base value. No more 10% crit chance from Golden Soul Aura. I'd be okay with any of that stuff, the buffs being gone, or the effects, as long as I had the visual. Soul Siphon, healing removed. Shard of Life, gone from game. The power is no longer in the game. Circle of Protection, healing is extremely weak in comparison to live. You only do 600s when you're at 17,000 resto. Cooldown, I believe, unchanged. Well, maximum stack is now 2. On live, you can stack it up 3 times. Test, you can only do 2. Cooldown, I believe, unchanged. Heals on dead enemies removed. This was one of the properties of Soulwell, the ability to heal better when enemies die within the circle, aka now the dead gives you healing. That is gone. The base heal value is slightly increased, 500 from 17,000 resto. Ritualistic Word. This has now become sorcery's staple. It is a saving grace and what I wish Biocapacitor received. Cooldown now matches a minus on live. Heals all 4 like live, but there is no healing over time after cast. Powering transferred to offering. Transmutation. No longer heals based on bad karmics enemies. Does a small burst. 1,000 when you have 17,000 restoration. I still want the visual at least. Please give us that back. Cooldown is basically similar to priority heal. Power cost literally non-existent. You can spam this move forever, but the healing is very low, so good luck if you do. Range is abysmal. Still seems to be a little smaller than the live version of Electroburst. Transcendence. Still a 50% supercharge, power back removed. Now gives the whole group a shield and a small heal over time over a certain amount of seconds. I feel this may still be worth people running, and I feel this power isn't going to be very useful and needs further adjusting. I understand it, although at first it looked like you were countering yourself. Boon of Souls. Unfortunately, it has received Tessa's Electric's Flux treatment, where the duration is pitiful. But is any shield on Tess actually good now? Remember to pause this video anytime you want to read. Invocation of Renewal. No longer gives a burst heal at the end of the channel. Is a constant stream of HOTS 700 at 17,000 restoration. I did not see properly, but it no longer seems to be interruptible. Cooldown is abysmal. 12 seconds maybe or higher. I feel this power isn't going to be very useful and needs further adjusting. Now I'm showing this screen right here to show you what the devs posted, so these are the changes that they've mentioned already on the forums. I didn't go too far into it because I just felt that putting any more stuff up here when it may change would just make my video longer. But these are some of the fixes that are coming. Transmutation in heal roll is bugged. It heals enemies instead of allies. That will be fixed. Invocation of Renewal is getting a large heal buff, but not increased cooldown. Supercharged generators should do fairly low damage. Their main function is supercharged generation. All PIs are a 10% increased in throughput. Ritualistic Word is getting its range increased. Circle of Protection / Destruction uses their own cost category, minimum high, which is between minimum and high. For instance, or for reference, the current power-based categories are below. Note these values are still subject to change and will continue to iterate on feedback. Low, I mean, think of the power as like a score of 1,000. So at the score of 1,000 power when your power bar is full. There's low, which is 135, medium, which is 270, medium high, which is 350, and then there's high, which is 450. And that's when you're casting stuff. That's in those ranges that you saw at the beginning of the video. So these are some of the changes that are on test right now to the powers. I didn't want to go too far into it because I really wanted to get this video out here, you know, before it comes back on test server. So like I said, if you're watching this video, it's already off test server. Test servers are closed because they're doing the St. Valentine's Day seasonal testing right now, along with some other testing. And once that's over, they're going to put Stat Revamp right back on test servers. But as of right now, the testing is over currently. And they're going to move on and update some of the powers, put them back out there so we can test them. And maybe they'll even add some new powers, who knows. But so far, I'm liking what people are doing. Not so much what the powers are, but the testers. I'm liking that people are actually being more thoughtful in their feedback on the forums. It makes my job a little bit more easier when I don't have to like send PMs nonstop. Although, like I said, I didn't really get a chance to do that this time. I can just go to the forums and just look at it. At the same time, I want to urge people to get onto the test forums and test things out as much as they can. Like I said, as you can read, these changes are going to affect the game if they ever go live. Some changes are good, some changes are not. So it's up to you to put your feedback if you still want to keep playing this game. Tell them what you like, tell them what you don't like. And I say that from a tester's perspective. They listen to all feedback, but someone who's actually testing it out, that carries more weight. Alright, so I found there was an update to the power cost changes on the forum, and I was just about to upload this video. That being said, I'm not sure when I'm going to upload this video now. I might keep it back just in case I find some more stuff. However, this right here changes a little bit of what I said earlier in the video, so let's go over it real quick. Hello, I wanted to drop by and talk to you real quick about one of the major changes going on Test today. We spent a lot of time focusing on allowing you to play from the tray. We recognize the importance of this feature and playstyle for those who enjoy doing it, and we wanted to make sure it was something feasible. To that end, we made the following changes. Shifted some power regeneration from weapon attacks to passive power regeneration. This means that your power attacks will generate less power than they used to, but the difference would be made up by passive regeneration. Put another way, when you are not performing weapon attacks, you are now generating more power passively than you were before. We reduced the cost of abilities across the board, with a focus on reducing higher cost abilities. Keep in mind though that in order to play from the tray, you will still need to make specific choices to make that feasible. You will need to specialize into the power stat and use primarily more efficient abilities available to you. Also, side note, if you're trying to play from the tray, you should totally leave off your weapon buff from the tray. Those things do not belong together. Thank God somebody finally said that. God, you have no idea how much I'm happy they said that. Oh. I don't know what it is, but most of the testers that come onto the test servers seem they can take the concepts that are on live and move it over to test and that it'll work out. And no, you have to read everything. Like, it's test for a reason. It's going to be different, and this is going to change the core of the game. Like, what are you, I don't get it. Especially if you're someone who reads the forums and then went to test, and it's like you forgot the one of the most important things right now is that there's no such thing as a might buff anymore. There is no such thing. No power in the game has a might buff. They only have precision buffs. Those powers are useful only for weapon attack damage. They don't do anything for your power attack damage whatsoever. Matter of fact, if you use one, you're using up almost half your power bar. So why aren't people... I don't understand. I see it all the time, and then they want to complain that they can't play from the tray. I wonder why you can't play from the tray. I mean, seriously, like, just don't do that to yourself. Please, unless you're going to use the weapon to actually attack and you want to attack with your weapon, there is no reason for you to ever use the buff at all. Period. Don't do that to yourself. Along with that, there's been other changes to the game, so let's go over them. Power cost. Shifted some power regeneration from weapon attacks to passive power regeneration. Reduced the cost of abilities across the board and rebalanced damage and healing output. General combat. Fixed an issue where dominance was contributing too much value to heals. I'm so gonna miss that one. Fixed an issue that could sometimes cause tanks to take extra damage immediately after ending block. Electricity. Repulse. Added a delay to the visual effects to match the animation timing. Attract. No longer cancels other crowd control effects, with the exception of levitate. Ionic drain. Reduce cooldown to account for cast time. Wonder if that might make it a little bit more feasible, but probably not. Ice. Inescapable storm. No longer cancels other crowd control effects, with the exception of levitate. Bitter winds. Fix bitter winds hitting for an extra tick of damage. Frost blast. Reduce cooldown to account for cast time. Avalanche. Reduce cooldown to account for cast time. Glacier flash. Reduce cooldown to account for cast time. Mental. Telekinetic push. Damage from the day's power interaction has been updated. Terra tendrils should now properly apply the Terra power interaction. Telekinetic pull. No longer cancels other crowd control effects, with the exception of levitate. Cooldown has been reduced. Terrorized. Reduce cooldown to account for cast time. Items. Ring compartment trinket damage has been reduced. UI fixed an issue in the stats page where stats counts could become too long and overlap. This should make it a lot more feasible on test servers with all the updates. Greatly appreciated. But there are still some updates they need to do too as well. However, I think this will make it a little bit more playable now. However, we won't know until probably next month when it comes back on test servers. How to test these changes on the test server. Alright, this is the end of the video. Please try to keep in mind that you can currently not test out test server right now. All Stat Revamp is taken off so that they could test out the St. Valentine's Day seasonal event and some other things. But right now, it's offline. They will be back after they're done testing. So it won't take long for them to test them because, hey, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. So keep it locked here. But when it's time to test, you guys need to go to the forums. Look for the post that says Stat Revamp 1.2 Atomic Gadgets and Sorcery. At the very bottom, it will have instructions such as what you see right here. This is that forum post, okay? So instruction 1, download and log into the test server. That link will take you straight to the download. Once logged in, continue to play your existing character or create new characters. Please try to focus on newly released powers, atomic gadgets, and sorcery. I say focus on everything, but they kind of want people to also focus strongly on those three. Visit the test vendors in the HQ to equip yourself properly. Play in-game content with the focus on Amazon Fury Part 3, all of it, and other raids. Return to the testing feedback forums and share your experience directly into the appropriate threads below. What is your experience at high level? Is it the same or different from your prior testing? It will help us immensely if you can also post your test server's character name, power, level, CR with your feedback. These are the respective forums you need to be in when you want to give your feedback. These are for the testers. Everything you see right here, all these menus, these are for the testers only. Only. Alright, now right over here, you see that we have number 4. For non-testers and general comments, please reply to this work in progress thread that you are reading now. So if you're reading this, this is where everybody that is not testing, this is where you post that. And I'm saying that because of this. It is imperative that these testing feedback forums or threads remain only for feedback from testers. Off-topic comments from those not testing will be removed. Also, some people will be permanently banned. General questions and comments from non-testers about the overall revamp should stay in this thread, and feedback should be posted into the appropriate thread above, or threads above. So keep in mind that all those threads and those links right there are for the testers, and where this post is coming from right now, this is for people who are not testing but want to give feedback. Or comments, I guess you could say, because it's not feedback if you're not testing, it's just comments or suggestions. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. It was a long one. I'm glad it's over. I'll see you back with more information about the next update, and I'll try to get that out before the testing actually ends. Thanks for watching this video, guys. See ya. And once again, I would much rather you guys just not even watch my video. Go straight to the forums, read the information, and for the love of God, please get on there and test as much as possible. This is going to change the game. As you can read from these changes, this is going to change the game. Every single power will be touched. Once again, thanks for watching. I'm out of here. Bye.